Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the County of Berrien. It's a pleasure to be here this morning with you all. And as we call this meeting to order, I'd just like to make a reminder that if you have electronic devices, please turn them off or silence them so we can conduct business uninterrupted. Certainly when that time comes for public comment, please go to the podium, state your name, your jurisdiction, the town with which you live in. If you have any materials that you need distributed to the board, please do so by giving that to our Sergeant of Arms, which is Commissioner Jim Kern. And with that, the invocation is going to be given by our own Commissioner Mamie Yarbrough, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Commissioner Jim Kern. Please join us if you wish.
Wait. And we're good.
Now,
I would like to open with Psalms 118 and verse 24. This is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Thank you, Lord, for this day. Go with us and help us to understand and do the best with the task you have given us to do. Heal us, make us strong in body and mind. Go with all our families and communities. Lord, help and guide us all. Lord, have mercy on the world, the fires, the disasters. Take care of us, help us, and keep us safe. I will close with Psalms 118, verse 29. Oh, give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good, for his mercy endureth forever. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
thank you both. At this time, we will do roll call. Madam
Bell.
Clerk?
here.
Curran.
Here.
Harrison.
Here.
Hinkleman.
Here.
Majerick.
Here.
Martin.
Here.
Scott.
Here.
Ballrath.
Here.
Werfel.
Here.
Yarborough.
Present.
Elliott. Freeling.
Present.
Madam Chair, you have 11 present, 1 absent.
All right, we have a quorum. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the September 1 night meeting minutes. Everybody received those, and I would be entertaining a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Scott. Is there support? Is that Commissioner Martin? So it's been properly moved and supported. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Minutes are approved. I'm so sorry. I knew it was from this direction. I just wasn't sure who. Next item on the agenda is communications. Madam Clerk?
We have none.
There are no communications at this time. So we move on to the next item on the agenda, which is public comments on those items that are on our consent calendar. So any resolutions being considered by the board through consent calendar. If you have comments from the public, please do so by going to the podium.
Elder Hillier Township. I got a little comment to make on the last resolution where you're awarding $1,000. What do you call that? Hazard pay. You know, there are other people that suffered or that worked while the epidemic was going around. How about the people at NIARD? How about the people at the grocery store? How about the other people? How come they don't get $1,000? Why is it that the people working here are special? They get $1,000 from a special fund. I disagree with that. You know, they're gonna give everybody $1,000. I want $1,000 too. Hey, I had it. That was just a positive. So I don't think it's fair. That's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any other public comments at this time on those items on our consent calendar? All right, hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
All right, so it has been moved by Commissioner Kern, supported by Commissioner Volrath. There are no added resolutions. The one that you have within, that's been put in front of you will be considered a little bit later in other business, to be able to allow for personnel to give us a little more discussion on the item. So with that, is there any discussion on the consent calendar items from the board? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, will you please call the, or not call the roll, do a roll call on the,
Curran,
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
Hinkleman. Majeri. Morton.
Yes.
Scott. Walrath. Werfel. Scarborough.
yes,
Snell.
Yes.
Freeland. Elliott. Mr. Chair, you have 12 yeas.
Thank you. Morning, all.
Committee reports?
Okay. Have we done any yet, or?
No.
Well, Madam Chair of Finance, it has you listed first, so would you like to proceed?
Hold on.
Or
It is
you're,
not. We're doing it in other business, Mr. Chair.
okay, all right. Well, then, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning.
Our administrator and our vice chairperson was in our meeting, and we had a bit of conversation. Our treasurer, Shelley White, came and gave us a treasurer's update. And what she did was she gave us a sheet that listed all the where our investments are, not all of them, but some of them. The various banks, each year we choose a number of banks where our money is distributed over. And so she explained some things and brought us up to date on that. She also let us know about our tax sale that we just had. There is a company that we've gone with. Is this the second or third year?
I think it's the second.
Second,
Definitely the second.
second year.
Yeah, it is the
Yeah,
second
the
year.
Second year, and she's been very pleased with the outcome. That's what we wondered about. Because you know, it's done online and you have about 30 days to put in bids and keep watching. And I think the 18th of, somehow that sticks to me, that was the actual date, August 18th of the
October 18th,
August.
September 28th.
Yeah,
Was the
Yeah.
first day.
yes, with the first one.
Right.
What happened was there were 85 parcels, 63 were sold. There were 2 bidders that backed out of what they had bid and did not take them. So that on September 28th, there will be a sale again of the remaining properties plus those 2, and they will be offered, the 2 will be offered at the original amount due. There was one in Chickaming, the amount due was $6,689.20. And the one in Benton Harbor, the amount was $2,614. They will be offered at those amounts. Then the others will be offered at a minimum of $100 each, and that will, sale will go on. Then Sheriff Paul Bailey came in and talked to us. We had some questions about some weapon purchase, Spikes Tactical, and that was understood, and we're going to go ahead and do the waiver on those. Jake Lideker, our financial
Analyst.
analyst, thank you, had some bids. And we had put out one bid and no one bid it. It was for a couple of jobs, but no one bid it on those. And then the next bid was for Hill Road Bridge pile. It was sent out to 3 companies and 2 bid it. Riverworks Construction, Holland, Michigan, bid at $35,500. And then the other one was J.E. Clute Contracting, bid at $33,800. There's a motion that we make for the road department, and so that motion was made and supported, and it goes back to the road department for them to hopefully be able to choose the lowest bid. If not, they'll come back to the finance department, and then we'll see what happens then. We accepted the motions. We signed bids on paying bills, and we had no visitors, so there were no public comments, and that's my report, I think. Are there any other things? Thank you.
Questions for finance? Hearing none, Mr. Chair of PHS.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We also met this morning and had a number of items that some will come to you next meeting. First, two resolutions that the board, our committee considered, both for the health department. One, what's called Baby's Own Bed Award of $2,000. This is to help reduce the incidence of young children less than 1 year old dying from sudden infant death syndrome or some adverse event in their sleeping environment. And so that we heard about that. And then also addition of a health educator to the health department be grant funded. And so the committee considered those and will pass those along to you at the next meeting. We also reviewed and approved the monthly per diems. We talked about our work program and decided that we'll consider the salary study recommendations next week. So you can expect something to come from us at that point in time, as well as a complement change in animal control. We also reviewed and approved the pension refunds and rollovers. Again, this is passing money back to individuals who have separated from the county. It's their own money. And then we've got, under other business, we'll have two items for you to consider. One will be hazard pay, and I think there's been a draft resolution put out in front of you, as well as appointments to the mental health board. We did hear an update from Guy Miller, our health officer, and COVID rates remain low. Admissions to the hospital are also low, so there's capacity at our local hospitals. There is some guidance coming out from the state on for schools regarding mask mandates and the like, and so that will be coming up here in the next several weeks. And then also we got an update on the lead pipe changes being made in Benton Harbor, and they're right around 87% of the homes have had their pipes replaced. But that's the good news. The bad news is they're still under used bottled water advisory from the health state of Michigan. So that is expected to continue until a later date. And so that's we did consider under the hazard pay guidance that you gave us at the last meeting. We've spent time with administration and we're finalized our review of that, and the committee is set to proceed with those. And then we'll talk about a resolution for part-time temporary staff under other business. The committee is recommending some addition and consideration for that. And I'll go into greater detail at that point in time.
Bob, on the use of bottled water, is it because of the 13%, or is it because of a different reason?
Well, it's not clear. The state's continuing to push for use of bottled water, not the filters. The health department's continuing to offer filters, replace filters, help people maintain them. But there is still a sense from the state of Michigan that as they go through the lead line replacement, every homeowner will need to do a complete lead assessment of their dwelling. And that would be rather involved, not just the pipes, but also lead paint and the rest of the environment. So part of the issue is they were using lead solder until several years ago. And so there still is considered to be some exposure. The health department is doing some lead testing of individuals to see what their levels might be. And so we're nowhere near done with the lead issues, not just in Benton Harbor, but throughout the rest of the county. So until the state changes its direction, bottled water is still being recommended.
Questions for PHS? Yes, sir.
I know this might have something, but you sit on the health board also as the liaison. The lead filters that they've been doing, the health department has been doing, are we still doing that for all of the people there? Or
Yeah.
just the 13% who haven't had their stuff replaced yet?
So they're continuing to do it for everyone.
Okay,
So you'll have to come in and request a filter, and then the health department will help you install it, talk through proper maintenance and the like. So that's continuing.
but
The
I
state-
know we were doing that for a while, where we were coordinating that. Remember, that's why we bought the trailer, that's why we bought the truck. But I thought the state was taking that back over.
No,
They're not. They're
They're
just
not.
the overseers and the inspectors of it.
correct.
We're still doing the filters. Fine.
Yep.
That's all I needed. Thank you.
Commissioner Scott, and to clarify, the state is funding that work.
Yes,
So in addition to the lead filters, the state is also funding the bottled water rollout to the public. So that's 100% being paid for by the state of Michigan.
Yep. Thank you.
Other questions? Is the committee recommending those two mental health board appointments?
yes, they are.
All right, Mr. Admin Chair, Jim.
Thank you, Mac. We met this morning and our first people present were the Sheriff Bailey and Chief Deputy Boyce. And Dave Olrath would like to report out on their visit.
Sure would. Chief Deputy Boyce let us know that the Silver Beach Patrol for the year has been completed, and they'll still be doing periodic checks down there, but they thought it was a great year. There wasn't a lot of trouble down there. There were people down there making some stupid mistakes, and they caught a lot of them, but other than that, there was nothing, any big issues. So when you get that many people in a short, small area with a lot of sunshine and heat, some things can go bad, but evidently it went pretty good this year at Silver Beach because of our county road patrols. September, Sheriff told us they're getting ready for the Redbud Trail bike thing. They expect upwards of 60,000 people from all over the world. None of that money comes from the county. They are contracted, our sheriff's department is contracted with Buchanan Township to take care of that. And that it's just a weekend, and 60,000 people, a lot of people, and it helps out that they can move some of those people to the fair to camp out. They're going to run buses between our Berrien County Fairgrounds to Redbud to help out with some of that transportation and parking and things that get really full really fast. The main thing you'll see, you got the report in your emails last few days. Big problem with the Sheriff's Department is our getting over limit on prisoners. The limit is 341. As of this morning, we have 355. If that stays over the limit for 6 or more days, then the judges have to get involved and start releasing and doing things we can to get that limit, get those number underneath the limit. So that is a big concern for the sheriff right now, and he keeps a very close eye on it. And other than that, you can read the report yourself.
Thanks, Dave. Any questions? Okay, next we had in Mark Heiliger from the road department. This is the first time he came in to just report and not ask for anything. So that was a nice visit from Mark. We helped him out with what to bring with him when he comes. And Julie Werfel would like to report out on that.
Thanks. You stole my first line that he was reporting. So there are no resolutions coming out of these reports. One, he said that all the seal coating operations are completed for the year. They're right now working on, you've seen the cones on roads, they're repainting, restriping, doing all of those kinds of things. So try not to cross over into those lanes. The fall grinding has begun as they're preparing for the seal coating that'll take place in the spring. So if you see grinding going on in your area, it's a road that's going to get done next spring. Plan on more cones then. They had ordered previously 3 new pieces of equipment, and those have arrived. The tractors with arms for the mowing and the back truck. Lastly, they have completed 85.6 miles of county roads this year. They still have 11.47 to go this fall yet to complete all their projects for the year, and they are on track to do that. That's my report.
Thank you, Julie. Any questions for Julie?
No
Yes, sir.
questions for either Julie or for your committee. Every year, there's always something that comes up. What projects are already scheduled? Bids have been let, awarded grants. Are they not going to get to this year? As far as new paving and that, I mean, that might be a question to ask because we usually come up with some.
Yeah, he didn't report out on that I recall.
I asked the question.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
Commissioner Martin did ask that
Okay.
question, and
What was
he
the answer?
did say that he was going to get us that information
Oh,
on
cool.
what's still out there.
Thank you.
Okay.
And he also said that he foresees that all the 2022 projects that were listed will be completed by the end of the year.
Good, thank you. Okay, next time we get together, you will have 2 resolutions coming from us. The first one ending in 353. This is for the Public Defender's Office. If you recall, the Public Defender's Office submits their budget to MIDC. MIDC, in our case, did approve it. This resolution authorizes the chairman of the board to sign that agreement. It's actually a grant. So the board chair is signing the grant to give us the $4 million plus for the Public Defender's Office. The next resolution, 356, this has to do with LEPC. You all remember that Ron Bush, who was very active and had been in LEPC and emergency management for years, did an excellent job. He retired, and Dave Albers has replaced him. So our representative on the 5th Region Homeland Security Advisory Committee is Captain Rocky Adams, and Ron Bush was his chief deputy, next in line. So since Deputy, or now it's Sergeant Albers, has replaced Ron's position, this resolution appoints Deputy Albers to be the chief deputy on this 5th Region Homeland Security Advisory Committee, so that if Captain Adams can't make it, Dave will go in his place. Those are only the 2 resolutions. We had our vice chair and our county administrator in to see us. We had a brief discussion about the juvenile center, where we're at. Brian's done a good job of keeping us up to date on all that. And I'm not sure if the vice chair and the county administrator were in our meeting when I questioned the road department on a $350,000 expense for fixing something. It was not $350,000. So whoever was standing there listening to that, they did not spend $350,000 to fix anything. That was a line item. That's how much they had budgeted to fix something. The fix was only $1,200. And that's our report.
Question.
Yes, sir.
The jail population, you said, is at 355 as of this morning. Sheriff, are we counting any DOC holds? Do we have any folks who've been sentenced and are awaiting transport to the reception center in Jackson?
We work on that every day, Mac. I can't, off the top of my head, it's 355. That's not what we have classified. If they don't bond out, the numbers will rise.
Okay.
So I don't have those in front of you. We are working with the DOC on a daily basis. They have a
I
very
understand.
limited
I
number
understand.
in there.
Just wondered if the 355 included their people.
Of course it does,
Yeah.
yeah, but I can't tell you off the top of my head how
Okay.
many are there from the DOC,
All right.
but
very
we are
good.
working on that daily.
I get it. All right, thank you.
Yep.
Is that it for admin?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner reports, John.
No report other than today is my 43rd wedding anniversary.
Wow.
Congratulations. 43.
Don't forget the flowers.
Yes.
Pearls.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
The only thing that I'd like to report is I know that this board took action to do the mapping as it relates to broadband. We've been a little bit quiet while they've been doing all of that work, but we are quickly coming to a head on that. That report should be coming out in the next couple of weeks. At least that's the timeline that we know. That will be great because BCBIT is scheduled to have a roundtable discussion with municipalities on September 15th at our normally scheduled BCBIT meeting, which helps lead into the grant application that we had approved for ARPA funding. That deadline currently is set for October 1 for those municipalities submitting applications to have those submitted. So just wanted to kind of refresh everyone's memory and just say that that data is coming.
Very good.
That's my report.
Just went to the NATS meeting and as you said, all projects are on schedule in South County. Everything's going well due to a lot of people that are not going to be happy. The 11th Street or 933-51 corridor has been postponed a year and we kind of keep hoping it gets pushed up, but it's not. And that's everything on NATS. And Brownfield meeting is at 1:30 today.
No report.
No report.
No report.
No report.
No report.
Okay, last week I made comments on the juvenile center. And whether this county wants to be known as a saving county in money wise or a saving county in our youth. Yesterday I spent extensive amount of time at the juvenile center, having discussions with them and just seeing how it's running over there at this time. And the one thing that struck me right off the bat is the residential center over there is closed. Is budgeted for people to run that residential center. And right now, we have to send anybody that needs to go for treatment through a residential program. And it's not in the state of Michigan anymore because they've closed so many beds, the governor did at that time. And there's no openings for months and months and sometimes even longer than a year to get these juveniles into a program. Right now, we have 2 youths that are in Arizona, 2 youths that are in Nebraska. We have some youths in Utah, and they're sending some more youths out, a couple more out in the next week or so. Now, what gets me is the cost to do that is between $350 and $500 a day per youth, which could come out to as much as $15,000 a month for one youth if he's 30 days there in a program. You look at 8, 9 of our youths out, that's way over $100,000. I'm sure that $100,000 could be more well spent to reopen our center with our 18 beds, which would solve our youth problem. And as some commissioners want to use the youth as a commodity, we could get a few youths in from maybe the South Bend area or so forth into our empty beds. And I just think that would be the amount of people that they need to restart that. What we're spending to actually source our use would be enough to pay to have that program started up and run again. So that's my comments for today on the youth's juvenile center. I still think this county should be in the business of saving our youth and our young people, and not worry too much about saving always for the county, even though we have enough money set back. And that's it on the juvenile center. And the only other thing I have a comment on is I'd like to thank Annette for bringing the information that I'd asked for and that we'd asked in our committee, some of the people here on the resolutions. It was very detailed and I appreciate that, and it answered all my questions. Thank you.
And we can reserve time under other business if there's anything else you want to add about the juvenile center. Committee reports, commissioner reports on committee matters. Do you have anything?
No report here.
Ma'am?
No report.
Okay. Did you have anything?
No, sir.
All right, general public comments. Anything under the sun in 2 minutes or less, name and town, if you want to say anything.
Belter Hager again. Now, let me make a couple of comments on, I went down to Silver Beach. I was going to go for a walk on the pier. I used to do that 50 years ago or 60 years ago. I used to go down with my brother on Saturday morning, go fishing, catch perch. Lo and behold, I go down there and the guy wanted $8. Said, for what? Parking. Now you are denying me access to go to a public pier. I got to pay $8 to park the car, so I can just go walk or jogging down there if I wanted to. I think that's ridiculous. To me, public means it's free. Public parks should be free. It should not be just for people that have $8. I think you're wrong. Well, maybe Silver Beach, you can get away with it. But in the old days when they had the amusement park down there, used to go down there on Saturday morning when the fish were biting. And now I got to go down there. If I want to go down there, I got to pay $8 to park my car. The same is true across the river there. Tuscarnia, you got to pay. For the one in St. Joe, you got to pay. Why do they call them public parks? They ain't public as far as I'm concerned. No, then people complain like last week or a couple of weeks ago, these two ladies came in here for Rocky Gap. That's the only free one around here. That's why people go over there. On Gene Clark Park, at Benton Harbor, they got to pay on that too. That I can see, you can park right next to the beach, take your shoes off, walk in the water, and you park your car's right there when you walk back into the car on the parking lot. You don't have to walk across pavement or anything like that. But what I'm complaining about is public, well, the guy gave me a cut there. Since I'm a local resident, I had to pay $8. The other outsiders had to pay more than that. But I do not think it is fair to have a public park which is already paid for with funds, and you guys charge us to use it. Thank you.
Excuse me, Ed Kretschmann, Royalton Township. At this time, I'd like to thank the commissioners for adapting the two resolutions, the one last week and the one today, that will allow me the opportunity to permanently preserve 74 acres of my farm. This will be the first farmland preserved in Berrien County under the state of Michigan's Farmland Preservation Program. This program is very competitive, and the process for the applicants who make it to the state level is quite intense in the scoring system and also for the funding. I would also like to thank the Board of Commissioners for your continued support of Berrien County Ordinance number 21, which is the Farmland and Open Space Preservation Ordinance. It's my hope that my You're approving my application for the funding, and your support will be a catalyst for other farms to participate in this program for the coming year, or for the coming years. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to be heard? So name and town, 2 minutes. Going twice? Yes, sir.
Hello, I'm Matt Kirkus in New Buffalo. So I didn't prepare any long speech, but I have plenty to say anyway. So of course, I'm disheartened by all politics. So I'm going to tell you what Matt Chowala says. This goes to the sheriffs too. The lesser magistrate doctrine, when the higher ranking civil authority makes unjust or immoral law, policy, or court opinion, the lower or lesser ranking civil authorities have the God-given right and duty to interpose and refuse to obey the superior authority, and if necessary, openly resist the higher civil authority. Well, that's you guys. And you know, I've come up here before and I've said, you know, you brought your armed weapons to the skating rink for the kids who are, because they showed up when you forced businesses to close. So I'm against commerce, the Commerce Clause, all this, all of this has been an attack on our original libertine values. And so it's pretty funny because you hold these ideas, like, for instance, that you have the reason, you can reason your way through a problem, but you don't. You subscribe to larger party ideas for the most part, and you take them for a grain of thought, a grain of salt. So for instance, ivermectin, okay, or quercetin, you could go get it at the store. You're still holding on to this myth that that we're all dying. We're all going to be dead. We're not dying. Just like AIDS, 25% of people were supposed to die from AIDS. It's all, and you're holding on to it because you go and go to these meetings and they tell you over and over again. And guess what? You all get paid. It's all about money. You're all bankers. That's all you're doing here. And so thank you for the money. Oh, and what about these homeless people in Arizona? There's millions of dollars in relief funds, but where are they going to go? We know where they're going to go. They're going to go to more surveillance so that you can attack me for saying that we have a right to libertine. So you already know this. And it's business as normal. What are you going to do to resist this climate crap? You're
2
going to
minutes,
lock
sir.
me in my house?
Thank you, Mr.
Well,
Kirkus.
Lock us all in our houses.
Anyone else wish to be heard?
Right.
All right, that takes care of general public comments. We'll go to other business. There are a couple of appointments to the Mental Health Board that have been endorsed, I believe, by the PHS committee.
Yeah, yes, Mr. Chairman. So that's, we're PHSC is recommended appointment of Brenda Lane to the Mental Health Authority Board for a term expiring in March 31st of 23. And then also Bruce Hackworth, also to the Mental Health Authority to fill, these are both filling vacancies. And his term would expire March 31st of 2024. And so that is the recommendation from the committee, and I would so make that motion.
Okay, I think these are full board appointments, not mine. Is there support? Supported by Bell, moved by Harrison, supported by Bell. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And I would note that Brenda Lane will be filling the balance of a term that runs through 3/31 of 23. Bruce Hackworth, term that runs through 3/31 of 24. Okay. There's a resolution ending in 355. Mr. Chair, I think you wanted to discuss that.
Yeah, so there's actually two things for you to consider. The first is the hazard pay for full-time employees. If you remember, you authorized the PHSC committee to go ahead and investigate and come up with some numbers on that. So we analyzed that with administration. And so we've got 468 full-time staff that would be eligible for those payments. That includes 4 recent retirees. So we set some guidelines as far as length of service and when they started for us. The total cost of that payment would be a little bit over $500,000. We will be able to offset that cost from to the general fund by using available funds from the Health Department, Public Defender's Office, Road Department, and Parks Department. So the general fund cost would be $345,221. And so the committee has considered that and is recommending that we proceed with that. The second, as we went through the analysis with administration regarding the staffing at the county, the realization that the part-time and temporary staff also should be considered for some type of hazard pay. Many of them were brought in specifically to address COVID-related issues and were not able to work from home. And so the recommendation from the committee is that we consider those individuals who using the same criteria as for the full-time staff, and that they be eligible for a prorated benefit up to $500. That would be based upon their hours worked during the 21-22 year. Again, the same criteria that we used for the full-time staff. And so there is a draft resolution in front of you today that the committee is asking you to consider and to take action on. We'd like to do all these at the same time, so there's not any sense that full-timers being treated differently than part-time or temporary staff. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have. We did get input from several of the board members, and that's been very helpful to the committee.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have a draft resolution in front of me. I only have 355. That's the only resolution I have.
That's it.
There is no draft resolution?
Well,
this is
that's
it?
the one that the committee was considering.
Okay.
That is the resolution.
This is it. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Mac,
Ezra, then Julie.
I need some clarification here on the bottom. It says, be it further resolved that available special revenue funds, Public Defender, Health Department, Road Department, and Parks Department will be used to offset the general fund appropriation for the hazard pay provided to all employees, be it full-time, part-time, or temporary, as allowed. Why are we taking money from Public Defender, Health Department, Road Department, and Parks Department? Because I thought that especially Health Department and some of the Road Department, I thought, weren't they given a hazard pay already way earlier
No,
in COVID? They were not.
no.
All right, that's all I had. Thank you.
With specific to Health Department, they have some unused funding from the state of Michigan that they would be able to devote to this, but we would have to use it in the month of September for it to be eligible to be expended.
Same
And
position.
that would be for the full-time and the part-time, if the part-time
Are
is
eligible.
approved in this resolution.
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
And my question relates to, you mentioned that the criteria on the part-time would be based on hours worked 21-22. Shouldn't it be 20-21? That's when the actual pandemic was?
So we staffed up March of 20 was when the initial governor's executive order started. And then it continued throughout the next 2 years. We had initially looked at starting the window as March of 2020. We didn't start adding the staff, especially at the health department, until we got into 21. As a result, we said at the staff level, when we reviewed this with the PHS chair, that if we use July 1, 2021, we would catch the bulk of the staff that were added as a result of pandemic grant funding from the state of Michigan. So there is no hard date that we could make work around the governor's orders. So we chose the start of our fiscal year. We thought it was fairly clean. And we said July 1, 2020, 2022 through current. That would catch all of the health department staff that were added specifically for COVID duties. And then it would catch staff that worked through the bulk of the pandemic.
I guess I want to make sure that we're doing this. We said we're doing this because of the pandemic. So I want to make sure that we aren't just doing, okay, people that worked this year for us, or whatever. So we need to make sure that that's consistent for full-time employees and part-time employees. And at this point, I guess I'd recommend that maybe we do then an average of those two years or something to that effect, because it has to include the pandemic,
So
2022 hasn't really been a pandemic issue.
understood. And we were trying to cast the widest net we could. The nice thing about this is any suggestions that you have on what those guidelines are, the way that the authorizing resolution is written, it falls back onto PHS to review. If you have suggestions like that, looking at an average, we can run that through PHS. We have run multiple variants on who would be in, who would be out, and we can continue to do that with PHS before finalizing the next round of funding release.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
With this resolution, and I'm looking at the first whereas $1,000 for full-time, and then the other whereas 500 for part-time and everybody else. Is this all inclusive? In other words, this is going to take care of the situation. We're not going to have another resolution coming to us in a month going, oh, we missed these people. This is going to take care of everybody?
Yeah, so I'm going to restate what I was saying to Commissioner Werfel. We've authored this with the understanding that PHS would be empowered to review and would not require any additional action by the board. So to answer your question, yes, and it's intentionally written so that we've got some wiggle room that if we find that we've missed a population that was tied directly to COVID, we would take a hard look at that and bring it back to PHS for reconsideration.
And then PHS has the authority through this resolution to just go ahead and make
Yes.
those payments
Yes,
within these guidelines.
correct.
Okay.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
On the temporary and part-time employees, it's, you say up to $500 based on hours worked. Is that total hours worked, or how's the guideline for your hours worked on, goes from 500 and going on down?
Can I respond to that one? So our part-time / temporary staff have a maximum of 1,000 hours that they can work in any given calendar year. So the idea is that if they work the full 1,000 hours, that they would then receive the $500 payment. If they put in 25 hours, they would receive significantly less. An example of this would be, a good example is at your kennel. We routinely and regularly will have temporary staff that will hit their 1,000-hour cap. And that's because they're covering a lot of, say, like the weekend work. So you do have staff that'll regularly pick up the phone and cover those shifts where some of their coworkers may choose not to cover them.
Okay.
Anyone else? As I read the resolution, the first enabling paragraph, the now therefore be it hereby resolved, it delegates authority to PHS to execute the resolution if the board approves it. It first has the up to language, so there's discretion between $1 and up to 500. And then it says as determined by PHS committee. So that would address the question about would there be a need for us to revisit this as a full board. As I read that resolution, there would not be a need to do that. Corporate counsel, do you concur? I do. Okay. All right. Let's do this in two pieces. First, the 468 employees that PHS determined should receive the full amount of hazard pay. That ties back to the resolution that we did that authorizes this payment. I don't remember that resolution number, but for purposes of today, Madam Clerk, can you retrieve it and reference it in the minutes so that if we were to go back later and look at these minutes, we would know that we were approving this based on a prior resolution.
Mr. Chair, I think it's on the first whereas.
Oh, there it is.
Passed
Okay.
resolution C 2208337.
You're right. I know I'd seen it somewhere.
Okay,
Okay.
that's all right.
All right, so we're good. So is there, because the second part of this requires that we amend our agenda to consider a resolution that's not on the agenda. So the first part is everybody good with the full pay, the 1,000 to the 468 people, employees as determined by PHS? If so, I'd like a motion.
I would so move, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Harrison, supported by Bell. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, so that's done. Now, P 2209355. We would need a motion to amend our agenda to add this resolution that would need to be approved by at least 2/3 of the people here today.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion to amend the agenda to add resolution P 2209355 to the agenda on September 8th of 2022.
Okay, so you're moving to amend the agenda to add this resolution. Is there support?
I'll support.
Moved by Scott, supported by Curran. Any discussion? We need a roll call.
Freeling. Harrison.
Yes.
Hinkleman. Majerick.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Walrath.
Yes.
Werfel.
Yes.
Yarborough.
Yes.
Bell.
Yes.
Curran.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes,
Mr. Chair, you have 12 yeas.
thank you. Does someone on PHS want to read the resolution so we can talk about it? I think Mr. Bell has been nominated.
To the Honorable Board of Commissioners of Berrien County, Michigan, your Berrien County Personnel and Human Services Committee respectfully recommends the following. Whereas the Berrien County Board of Commissioners passed Resolution C 2208337 on August 11, 2022, which authorized a one-time hazard pay bonus of $1,000 for all full-time employees that were employed during the pandemic and are still employed who have recently retired, with the exception of elected officials and any prior recipients of the hazard pay bonus. And whereas the eligibility for the hazard pay was to be determined by the Personnel and Human Services Committee, and whereas the PHSC chairperson and staff worked through the various factors to create the employee roster for payments, and out of that work, it was determined that it is appropriate for some part-time or temporary employees that worked during the pandemic and are still employed to receive a prorated hazard pay bonus of up to $500 based on hours worked. And whereas the criteria includes being employed prior to July 1st of 2021, still actively working for Berrien County and accumulating at least a set number of hours. Now, therefore, be it hereby resolved that the Berrien County Board of Commissioners authorizes up to $500 as a hazard pay bonus to be paid to all eligible part-time and temporary employees as determined by the Personnel and Human Services Committee. Be it further resolved that available special revenue funds from the Public Defender, Health Department, and Road Department and Parks Department will be used to offset the general fund appropriation for the hazard pay provided to all their employees, be it full-time, part-time, or temporary as allowed. Respectfully submitted, the Berrien County Personnel and Human Services Committee.
And you're moving for the adoption.
Yes, sir.
Is there support?
Support.
Moved by Bell, supported by Harrison. Discussion. Ma'am.
I'd like to see us add maybe a caveat to the now therefore of a total dollar amount not to exceed by the committee, so that they don't have to come back to us, but if it goes over a certain dollar amount, then we have to revisit it.
So currently you have an estimate of roughly $27,000 if the max 500 were to be given to all of the temp staff that worked from 21 forward. So the one thing I would say is allow yourself some wiggle room. I want to make sure that any of the deputy staff that did not receive pay through the CARES Act, I just want to make sure we have a little bit of wiggle room. So I think if you inserted a not to exceed 35,000, that would be more than enough space. Sure.
Okay. So, all right,
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
sir.
I have a question. If we're going to put that in there up to 35,000, then that has to be added into this resolution that's on the floor right now for a vote. Otherwise, we can only vote on the resolution that we have in front of us.
That's correct. The other option, if you will, for lack of a better word, is to simply have an understanding that PHS won't breach the $35,000 ceiling without coming back. Will that work for everyone? Okay,
Mr. Chair, do we have to take a consensus vote on that?
no,
All right, thank you.
no, we're all adults.
Okay.
So, well, on most days. Anybody have anything else? Sir,
I like this resolution. I think it demonstrates that we really do care about our employees. And I said it before, when we were in the midst of this, talking about essential employees, I regard all our employees as essential, and I like this resolution. And, I think people sometimes look at, oh gee, you got $30 million, you can do whatever you want with it. Well, no, it's not quite that simple, and you can see that in the resolution. We're making a conscious effort to do this and finding the resources to make it happen. And I like this resolution. I think it is the right thing to do.
anyone else? Appreciation extended to Shelley Jasper, to PHS committee, you, Brian. This wasn't pulled together in 30 minutes. And that also speaks to a level of attention to detail that's warranted under the circumstances. So, any other comments, questions?
Comment, Mr. Chair, I think
Yes, sir.
everybody needs to understand that when this hazard pay came out, if we all remember back, that was an unfunded state mandate. And everybody needs to remember that. And we are just taking care of our employees that were not part of that unfunded mandate. I just wanted to make that comment.
Yeah, not only unfunded, but there was initially an allocation and then they yanked it back. So, yeah, peanuts, when Lucy kept moving the ball right before he was going to kick the extra point. Okay, if there's nothing else, Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Harrison,
Yes.
Hinkleman. Majeri.
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Walrath,
Yes.
Werfel, Yarborough,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Curran,
Yes.
Freeling, Elliott.
Yes,
Mr. Chair, you have 12 yeas.
thank you. Do we have any other business? We've done the mental health board appointments. We've done the added resolution. Does anybody have anything else under other business? Sure. Sure.
We have one DOC hold today.
Okay. Thank you. Well, right there, that's one closer to where we need to be, so. And that was Judge Taylor who adopted the policy of not counting them. I know. But we were hitting 400 routinely back then. Okay, if there's no other business, looking ahead, we're not meeting on the 29th, 3 weeks from today. So don't come in. And otherwise, we'll get together Thursday next, 8:35 a.m. Thank you.